And finally tonight, Samuel Joe Wurzelbacher, better known as Joe the Plumber, is running for Congress in Ohio as a Republican. Here's part of what he said today when he announced his candidacy.
But if we work together, we can help businesses come in here to create jobs by, having a competitive tax rates, by have a simple regulatory system. If I'm coming off as angry, it's because I am. I won't hide it. I'm pretty blunt about it. I just can't stand it when people do bad work. And we've been voting for the last 40 or 50 years, bad people to do bad things to us.
I'm angry too, as most of America knows. How about what happened to wage earners over the past few decades? We angry about that? The income of the top 1% has grown by 275%, but wages have pretty much flatlined the working folk of America. Redistribution of wealth is a reality in this country. It's going from the bottom to the top. Joining me now, Samuel Joe Wurzelbacher. Joe, good to have you with us.
Thanks, Mr. Schultz.
Ed's fine. You just saw that graph and you saw that statistic. Mm-hmm. You're in Congress. What would be your remedy for that? I mean, you're a plumber. You're down there at that blue line down there. You're the working folk of America. This is the income inequity. What's the solution?
Changing the tax code, which brings me to the point is, why do the Democrats ever talk about changing the 67,500 pages and growing current tax structure we have in place? Why don't they ever talk about changing that and leveling the playing field? Warren Buffett talks about, well, I pay less taxes than my secretary. That's because his accountants make sure that he pays less taxes than his secretary.
So you would want to simplify the tax code?
That's what it comes down to. Keep it simple, stupid. That's the secret to life.
But the tax cuts have gone to the wealthiest Americans, and it hasn't led to job creation.
Well, they keep paying for it with the lobbyists and the special interest. It's not a secret, but, when you sit there and say it's the Republicans doing it and not the Democrats, that's where you're doing a disservice to the American people, because the Democrats are getting their money from the very same people. They have the same fundraisers. They're both, essentially it seems like they're in collusion.
So you're mad at the system. You don't like the way the whole thing is set up.
God, no, man. We got to get in there and get some honesty and integrity in there, brother.
Well, what do you say to working people of America that have had stagnant wages over 30 years?
Get involved in your civic responsibility is what it comes down to. People aren't going to give it to you. You notice the top 1%, as you like to call it, keep taking. Well, they're in the position to take. You know what? We have the system in place for a reason. We, the American people, can take it over. Just got to get through all the BS that is the political system right now.
You think there's been corporate greed in America?
Well, sure.
Okay.
It's human nature.
But you're running as a Republican.
Yes, I am.
And they protect corporations and they protect the wealthy.
So do the Democrats. I mean, you can't have it both ways.
Well, now, wait a minute. We got the jobs plan out there that the Republicans won't even raise the taxes on 0.2% of Americans out there, the 400,000 jobs that would have been created.
Yeah,
How would you have voted on that if you were in Congress?
The jobs bill No.
Why would you vote no on that?
It's not fixing the problem. Like I said earlier, it's putting duct tape on an issue. Let's really fix the problem. Let's look at the tax structure first. What I said earlier when I was making my announcement, a competitive tax rate, a simple regulatory system. These are simple things. The reason why you put a simple regulatory system is you want to keep the businesses that you started in that state or in the country.
What's a fair tax for the people at the top 1% that have seen their income go up 300% over the last 3 decades? I mean, they're living wealthier than they ever have. Are they taxed enough?
Are they taxed enough? It comes back to changing the tax structure. That's what it comes back to.
Well, what would it be? I mean, it used to be at 39%. Now it's at 35.5%, 36%.
You're not going to throw the 1955
No, I'm not going to do that. But back in the Clinton years, it was at 39%. Then the Bush tax cuts came in 2001 and 2003, which led to all of this. But what is a fair tax rate, in your opinion, for the wealthiest Americans?
I think it needs to be across the board. I like the flat tax. I like the fair tax. I like anything that gets rid of the current income tax system.
Okay, so you're a flat taxer.
I'm about getting it out of the way and bringing business back to this country. The heavy regulations that's imposed by one of the parties, the free trade agreements imposed by another of these parties that hurt Americans and hurts American jobs and send them overseas. We got to work on that. Both parties are hurting this country, Ed.
Well, the Democrats have made some mistakes, but I think for the most part they're pretty much on point. I got to ask you this.
Okay.
How are you going to vote on Issue 2 in Ohio?
Issue 2?
Yes.
Personally. I haven't made a decision on that, to be honest with you.
Are you for collective bargaining?
I don't like collective bargaining because I want the taxpayer to be represented at the table. Now, don't cut me off there. I mean, the taxpayer has to be represented at the table. Not a big on collective bargaining, but at the same time, again, you got 40 or 50 years of bad decisions made by Republicans and Democrats, and they want
I got to run. Joe, good to have you. We'll get you back on the program.